Originali.
Ancora Alan Bennet a Lingue Originali su Caffè Italia. Il brano che Marco Piovaz ci propone questa settimana si intitola Miss Fozzard Finds her feet e racconta le vicissitudini di una signorina un po' avanti con gli anni che si trova a dover accudire il fratello quando quest'ultimo, a seguito di un ictus, perde la parola. L'unica consolazione di Miss Fozzard è il lavoro da commessa in un grande magazzino e le sedute da Mr Suddaby, il suo chiropodista di fiducia. Ma quando Miss Fozzard scopre che Mr Suddaby si trasferirà in un'altra città e dovrà cominciare a frequentare un altro chiropodista, per lei si apriranno nuove prospettive. Ed allora, dalla voce di Marco Piovaz, di Alan Bennet, da Talking Heads, ascoltiamo Miss Fozzard Finds her feet.
Bit of a bombshell today. I'm just pegging up my stocking when Mr Suddaby says, "I'm afraid, Miss Fozzard, this is going to have to be our last encounter." Apparently, this latest burglary has put the tin hat on things. And what with Mrs. Suddaby's mother finally going into a home and the TV reception always being so poor, there's not much to keep them in Leeds. So they're making a bolt for it and heading off to Scarborough. Added to which Tina, the chow, has a touch of arthritis, so the Sens may help. And the upshot is they've gone in for a little semi near Peacehall Park. But Mr Suddaby says none of that is of any consequence. What is important, Miss Fozzard, is what we are going to do about your feet. You've been coming to me for so long, I don't like to think of your feet falling into the wrong hands. I said, "Well, Mr Suddaby, I shall count myself very lucky if I find someone as accomplished as yourself, and, if I may say so, with your sense of humour. Because it's very seldom we have a session in which laughter doesn't figure somewhere." He said, "Well, Miss Fozzard, chiropody is a small world, and I've taken the liberty of making a few phone calls and come up with two possibilities. One is a young lady over in Roundhay, who I understand is very reasonable." "A woman," I said, "in chiropody. Isn't that unusual?" "No," he said, "not nowadays. The barriers are coming down in chiropody as in everything else. It's progress, Miss Fozzard, the march off. And Cindy Bickerton has her own salon." I said, "Cindy? That doesn't inspire confidence. She sounds as if she should be painting nails, not cutting them." "Well," he said, "in that case the alternative might be more up your street. I don't know him personally, but Mr Dunderdale has got all the right letters after his name. He's actually retired, but he still likes to take on a few selected clients, just to keep his hand in. However, he does live out in Lawnswood, and unless I'm very much mistaken, you're not motorised." I said, "No problem. I can just pop on the 17. It's a bus I like." "No, if it's all the same to you and the Equal Opportunities Board, I'll opt for Mr Dunderdale." He said, "I think it's a wise decision. Allow me," and he winked, "allow me," he said, "to shake hands with your feet." I've been going to Mr Suddaby for years. I think it's an investment, particularly if you're like me and go in for slim-fitting court shoes, squeeze, squeeze. Mr Suddaby reads me the Riot Act, of course, but as he says, it's a free country, Miss Fozzard. If you want to open the door to a lifetime of hard skin, I can't stop you. What view this Mr Dunderdale will take remains to be seen. When I get back, Mrs Beavers has her hat and coat on, can't wait to get off. Says Bernard has been propped up in a chair, staring at the TV all evening. She helps me get him upstairs, and then I sit by the bed and, as per the recovery programme, give him a round down on my day. Mr Clarkson Hall down at the unit says that when somebody has had a cerebral accident, in lay terms a stroke, Miss Fozzard, We must take care not to treat them like a child. If your brother is going to recover his faculties, dear lady, the more language one can throw at him, the better. I was just recounting my conversation with Mr Suddaby and how they're decamping to Scarborough when Bernard suddenly throws back his head and yawns. I rang Mr Clarkson Hall this morning. He says that's progress. I do miss work. I'm just getting my things on to go up to Mr Dunderdale's this evening when Bernard has a little accident and manages to broadcast the entire contents of his bladder all the way down the stairs. Mrs Beavers is taking her time coming, and it's only when I've got him all cleaned up and sitting on the throne that the doorbell eventually goes. Except even then it's not her, just a couple from church about Rwanda. I said, never mind Rwanda, can we deal with the matter in hand and get a middle-aged gentleman off the lavatory? So we get him downstairs and manoeuvre him onto his chosen chair 5 inches from the TV screen. After they've gone, I said, you can work the remote. It's about time you remembered how to wipe your own bottom. Not a flicker. Of course, that's where they have you with a stroke. You never know what goes in and what doesn't. When Mrs Beavers eventually does roll up, she's half an hour late, which means I've missed the 10 past and have to run all the way up Dyneley Road. So by the time I'm ringing Mr Dunderdale's doorbell, I'm all flustered, very conscious that my feet may be perspiring. He said, well, if that is what's troubling you, Miss Fozzard, I can straight away put paid to the problem, because I always kick off the proceedings by applying a mild astringent. Refined-looking fella, 70-odd, but with a lovely head of hair. One of the double-fronted houses that look over the cricket field. Rests my foot on a large silk handkerchief, which I thought was a civilised touch. Mr Suddaby just used to use yesterday's Evening Post. He said, well, Miss Fozzard, I take one look at these and I say to myself, here is someone who is on her feet a good deal, am I right? I said, you are. I'm in charge of the soft furnishing department at Matthias Robinson's, or was until my brother was taken ill. Anything you want in Creton, you know where to come. He said I might hold you to that, but meanwhile could I compliment you on your choice of shoe? I said, well, as a rule I steer clear of suede, because as a shoe it's a bit high maintenance, but sometimes I think the effort with the texturizer pays dividends. He said, I can see we share a philosophy. If I may, I just begin by clipping your toenails. He said, of course, as soon as you walked in, I picked you out as a professional woman. I said, how? He said, by your discreet choice of accessories. I said, well, I favour a conservative approach to fashion, peppy but classic, if you know what I mean. He said, I do. There's been a verruca here, but it's extinct. Do you know why I chose the profession of chiropody? I said, no. He said, it's so that I could kneel at the feet of thousands of women and my wife would never turn a hair. I said, oh, is there a Mrs Dunderdale? He said there was. He passed over. When it finished, he rubbed in some mentholated oil, Moroccan apparently, and said I just feel a mild tingling effect, which wasn't unpleasant, and said my feet were in tiptoe condition, the only possible cloud on the horizon, a pre-fungal condition between 2 of my toes that he wanted to keep a watchful eye on. Had on a lovely cardigan. I said, I hope you'll excuse me asking, but is that cardigan cashmere? He said, well spotted, Miss Fozzard. This may be the first time you've seen it, but it won't be the last. Could I offer you a glass of sweet sherry? Churchwarden at St Wilfrid's, apparently. Past president of the Inner Wheel, and nicely off by the looks of it. A pillar of the community. When he's at the door, he says, next time, if you're very good, I shall initiate you into the mysteries of the metatarsal arch. I thought about it on the bus, and when I gave Mrs. Beavers her money, I told her that with my wanting to get back to work, she'd no need to come again, as I was going to advertise for someone permanent. Bernard's got a bit put by, and this isn't a rainy day, I don't know what is. He was watching TV, so I switched it off and took him through my evening, as Mr. Clarkson Hall said I should. He looked a bit snotty, but I said, "Bernard, nobody ever learned to talk again by watching the snooker." Told him about Mr. Dunderdale and the pre-fungal condition between my toes, his cashmere cardigan and whatnot. As Mr. Clarkson Hall says, "Miss Fozzard, it doesn't matter what you say, so long as it's language. Language is balls coming at you from every angle." And it's working. I got him into bed and was just closing the door when I heard him say his first word. I think it was cow. When I rang Mr. Clarkson Hall to tell him, he said, "Why cow?" I said, "Probably an advert on TV." Still, he agreed. It's a breakthrough.
Miss Fozzard Finds a Fit da Talking Heads di Alan Bennet, il brano che vi abbiamo proposto questa sera nell'appuntamento con la lingua inglese a Lingue Originali. Ma Lingue Originali torna anche il sabato, sempre alle 22, con la lingua tedesca e la voce di Nadia Meroni, e la domenica con Barbara Marchand per quanto riguarda la lingua francese. Io sono Dario Albertini, vi ringrazio, vi do appuntamento a domani sera per la lingua tedesca e alla prossima settimana, dopo l'appuntamento in lingua francese di domenica ovviamente, per un nuovo ciclo di Lingue Originali su Caffè Italia, il caffè letterario in radio e podcast dalla Roma italiano, ma non solo.
Lingue Originali.